What's up, guys? Welcome once again to another episode here at my channel, Insane Disappearance. Um, I had a little small conversation with one of my viewers. Her name is Elizabeth Morgan. She responded to one of my posts about the case of De'Orr Kunz, who was a two-year-old little boy who disappeared in Idaho back in July on 2016. I believe he disappeared on July 9th. Yeah, July 9th, 2015. Um, and she was responding to some of the things I said about the case and how he just mysteriously vanished. Not so much right before his great grandfather's very eyes, but he turned his head and looked back and he just vanished. Just like that. Um, we had a pretty good conversation about what it could be all about. Who is actually involved, and there could be some merit to what she said because as of right now, he still hasn't been found, and it's been almost a year at least. It'll be a year on July 9th of this year. Oh, what? Well, okay, yeah. So it's been 2 years since then. So it has been 2 years. So it'll be a total of 3 years next year. So, but yeah, I mean to start with, that's what my this today's post is going to be about. It's going to be about De'Orr Kunz because there's some new evidence that has risen from the investigation. But to start with, I want to take you back a little bit. Just do a little recap. Now on July 9th, 2015, in Lemhi County of Idaho, De'Orr Sr., Jessica Mitchell, his mother, De'Orr Jr., and his great grandfather, Robert Walton, who was accompanied by a close friend of his, who is believed to be an ex-con. I'm not sure. Well, that's what they said. So he was one of the suspects in the case, but I don't think he's ever been charged with anything. He was probably cleared, but I'm not sure. I have to get more information on that. But the father and the mother, both 26 years old, they were about 50 yards from the campsite, which is called Salmon Creek National Park. Well, actually, the actual campsite is actually named, let me see, it's actually a creek. Information down. I wrote it. Oh, here it is. It's called Timber Creek Campgrounds. Or at least the campground is called Timber Creek. But the area where they was at is called the Salmon Challis National Forest. So anyway, they were about 50 yards away from the Salmon Challis National Forest, which is where their creek was and where they were camping out. They were looking for a little fishing spot, for them and a little De'Orr because he loved the fishes. They had some minnows in that water. After they found a place, they were returning back to the campground, and that's when they discovered that he wasn't sitting in his little camp chair. So he went over to his the boy's great grandfather, well, great grandfather actually. And he said, "Where's De'Orr?" He said he didn't know. He thought De'Orr was with the parents, but he wasn't. Now, according to what the great grandfather told the press, he said that he turned his head for a second, and when he looked back, he was gone. Okay. Now there has been a lot of theories about what could have happened. Bears, kidnapper, pedophile, no. Just think about it. You have to think about these things in a three-dimensional sense, or in a three-dimensional way. If someone was to kidnap little De'Orr, they would have to do a number of things while he was in the company of his great-grandfather. Okay? First of all, you also have to look at everything around you and listen to everything around you. When someone is coming up behind you, whether they're sneaking up on you or not, you're going to hear the sound of their feet brushing or walking across gravel or dirt, because even dirt makes a noise when your feet move across it or move even if you're walking like this here and your feet is going across, you're going to hear the sound of your feet smashing against the dirt. There may be some rocks on the ground. It could be anything, but you're going to hear all this noise. So that's going to alarm you, and you're going to turn around and see who it is, right? Right. But in this case, that did not happen. If the boy just vanished without a trace after he looked back to see where he was, there was nowhere else for him to go. There was the lake, there was the trees and the area where they was at. They was in a tightly closed, area as far as where they were standing or walking. Okay, you would also hear little De'Orr being grabbed by the mouth if he was trying to keep him quiet. There's no way for him to block out the sound of his voice, even if his mouth is covered. You're gonna hear this. You're gonna hear that, and you're gonna hear him struggle. You're gonna probably hear him crying. That didn't happen either, and it definitely wasn't bears, because first of all, at that time, bears weren't hibernating, but there weren't any bears in that area. They said they even checked the bear cave. No remains there, no whatever. Okay, so to me that rules out the animal thing, or even mountain lions. If there was a mountain lion in the area, trust me, somebody would have seen it and they would have heard it, because they're gonna do that little creepy crawl thing, when they're coming up on a prey, obviously. But at some point, you're still gonna hear a noise. So, I am inclined to believe that what he said was the truth, because of all the other cases of people just vanishing without a trace. Most of the time, the people who vanish aren't even around. They be by themselves. Or if they fall behind and they just vanish, which is kind of like probably what happened with De'Orr. He's got little legs. He's 2 years old. So if the grandfather is walking ahead of him, that's the time when whatever this thing is, strikes. And I think that's what they do. They wait for that last complete second, and it only takes a second for them to take a person and for them to vanish without a trace. They wait for that second when no one is looking, and they act quickly. They grab the person, and poof, they disappear. So they know what they're doing. They're very precise in that area, and they're really good with timing as well. Okay, other than that, from what he told the press, that's what he said. He said he turned his head for a second. When he looked back, he just vanished. He was nowhere to be found. Okay. So after all that, when they came back and realized that he was gone, they discovered that he was gone. On July 10th at 2 hours. Hold on. On July 10th at 2:28 p.m., his mother reported him missing, and at that time he had been missing for a full hour. So for at least 3 days, 200 volunteers, along with the SAR team, scoured the area, and they scoured more than a 2-mile radius, including a nearby reservoir. Now, this is something else too that David Paulides has also mentioned in a lot of his cases. When you're looking for a child, and that child is 2 years old, he asked that question: who do you know has a 2-year-old that can travel for no more than 2 miles? I mean, they got little legs that probably tire out quicker and they want to take a nap or whatever. There isn't too many children I know that's 2 years old that can travel no more than 2 miles or not. 2 miles. Okay? So that's what the SAR teams do. They investigate, or they create a grid that is 2 miles apart in every direction, because they figure that's the only amount of miles they can travel. So they don't go outside that mileage, and I think that's the reason why they keep missing out on finding these children or these people, or mainly the children, because they think that they can only travel no more than 2 miles. Now I look at it like this here: if they did, they had help doing it. Something or someone had, were either carried them or drove them, or they were able to transport them in some means from one point to another within a second. I don't know. That's just my theory. Okay. Now, so they did the search on July 13th. The parents gave an interview in Lemhi County about their son. Now, the father He firmly believes that his son was abducted, kidnapped. Now, if you look at your kidnappings from the past, what kidnapper can take a child without leaving any evidence whatsoever? And I mean, there would have to be footprints pressed into the dirt, the soil, any type of fabric that may have came from their socks, their pants. It may have gotten snagged on something. Any type of DNA, like maybe your hair, some parts of your hair fell out. Who knows? You may have been shedding. I don't know. But there has always been some type of evidence stating that somebody, meaning a human, did what happened to that child, meaning an abduction or kidnapping. So, but none of that was ever found. Okay, now when they was going through the search, he wasn't in the river. They dammed the lake near the campgrounds. No De'Orr. They searched the bear caves. No De'Orr. No remains. No nothing. So at that point, they was at a loss. He was never found. Now, Sheriff Len Bowerman, he believes the parents are hiding something. I really don't think so. I mean, it's possible that they could be hiding something if they had something to do with his death. But why would they kill their own child? Now, they did say that in the new evidence that I had recovered, they were saying that the parents had trouble paying the rent in their apartment. I think they said it was a 900 block in Idaho where they lived at. So I would imagine if they were devious enough to kill their own child, knowing that they couldn't pay the rent, they probably got rid of the child as a bargaining chip for their rent because they couldn't pay the rent. Therefore, obviously, a lot of their money was going into taking care of De'Orr, buying them clothes, buying them food, buying them Pampers, because he was still in Pampers around the time when he was kidnapped or when he vanished. So they figured that's more money they could save by getting rid of the child. I don't know. It has happened, so it's not like it's not like it ain't possible. But still, that's just speculation towards the parents because they are one of the number one suspects in this case. Well, both of them are, along with the friend of the grandfather. But like I said, who knows? Okay. Now the parents hired a PI named Philip Klein. He was put in charge of the investigation, in finding De'Orr. Now, in the updated information 2 years later, I found out that Philip Klein, who was in charge of the investigation, was fired and then rehired again. He was rehired by De'Orr's extended family, in the for his investigation. And from what was said by Philip Klein in the interview, he said that his investigators unearthed some evidence that would rule out animal attacks and kidnapping. They also talked about I think they called it a camo jacket, because I'm just not finding out that in the area where they were, it was actually pretty cool that morning. In the campgrounds. But then I can understand that because they were in the mountains. So, the higher you go in elevation, the cooler it gets. Okay, so I wasn't thinking about that because I was saying to myself, why would he be wearing a jacket in the middle of July? Well, it wasn't the middle of July. It was the beginning. It was in the first month, the first couple of weeks of July, or the first week. And, I talked to a friend of mine and she said in those type of areas, it's always cool. And then when I thought about it, being a person that went to Hawaii and went to the very top of Mount Mauna Kea, it went from 91 degrees to like 20 below within an hour or so. Because it took us about that long just to get up to the very top. and we're talking like chest burning cold because the air was very thin, so it wasn't a lot of oxygen up there. But anyway, so that pretty much ruled that part out, about what I was thinking. So obviously, yeah, it was cool in that area, and it said it was a cool morning in July when they arrived at the campsite. So he obviously was wearing a jacket, and they said something about finding the jacket. I believe they said they found it. They either didn't find it in the house or they did. I got to look at that information again because a lot of times when I look up information like that, sometimes you can't find it again unless you actually know what you're looking for. But anyway, moving on. That was pretty much all they had about the information because it's still under investigation. So right now, the Philip Klein is actually saying, and I believe the reason why he's saying is because they fired him, the parents fired him. So he's basically slandering them at this point. He says that the mother knows where De'Orr's body is, and there was a video bite of it on the web about the interview, and they showed a picture of of the mother crying from all this, especially after what he said. Accusing her of knowing where his body was when she really doesn't. I, for one, believe the parents. And even the sheriff said that he couldn't believe that so many people done started coming up with all these theories. And it's already been arising about what they feel had happened to that child. I've heard some people mentioning aliens and the paranormal, which includes Bigfoot. So trust me, it's getting there, and that's why I'm here, because that's what I do on my channel. I talk about the weird stuff that most people don't want to talk about or believe. Now, the sheriff thinks that everybody's crazy to even think that it has something to do with aliens or UFOs, Bigfoot or whatever. Now, like George Norrie on his show Coast to Coast EM said about a lot of these cases, that he thinks it's portals where people just seem to walk into them and then they're gone. And I think that has a lot to do with it as well. But the boy was 2 years old. He was walking, but I'm thinking that somewhere out there, these beings or people, whatever you want to call them, they have the ability to open up wormholes or portals at will. And see, energy cannot be seen by the naked eye. You need stuff like a night vision camera or infrared camera, whatever the case may be, in order to see stuff like that, because energy is invisible. You may see the effect that it has on the environment, where, like, say, okay, for instance, when you look at a big fire and you look at the flames, you see the area around the flames kind of ripple, like as if time and space is being distorted by it. And it could just be the energy coming from the fire, making things look wrinkly at the edge of the flames. And I'm thinking the same thing happens with, energy, like a portal. You can't, like I said, you can't see it with your naked eye. You need some type of equipment in order to see the actual hole that's punched into space and time. So, like I said, if a person is walking right up to a portal, they're not going to realize it until they actually walk through it, and after that, it's too late. So I'm thinking that whoever is doing this has the ability to open up wormholes or portals to our world, which will cause people to actually walk right through it. And that's it. So I'm thinking that might have been what happened to De'Orr. He didn't realize what he was walking into. He didn't realize he was walking into anything. He just walked right into a portal. But for him to just vanish, I don't know how that's even possible. And it's a type of technology that we have no idea about. Okay? Now, for them to say stuff like Bigfoot and the paranormal and UFOs, aliens or whatever, I am inclined to believe all that stuff except for, I'm not saying that it's not possible, but for him to just vanish without a trace right next to him, something, like I said, did that. And it's something that we can't fathom. But the fact that these people can actually get that far to say it definitely wasn't a human that did it. That's what I believe. I know a human didn't do it. He wasn't kidnapped by a person. I don't even think that the parents killed him, because for him to just disappear and them not leave any evidence whatsoever, come on now. They're starting to even believe that he probably wasn't even at the campsite. So they said something about finding blood in the bed of his truck. I think he had like one of them F-150 trucks. Or could have had a Chevrolet Avalanche. It's one of those little big, bulky looking trucks with a nice little design on it. But anyway, but that's just, like I said, that's just hearsay. He might have been saying all this stuff to slander the parents just to get them to talk, because everybody still thinks that they had something to do with it. But truthfully, people need to get away from logical thinking. This is what I be saying in all my videos. You have to get away from logical thinking, because logical thinking is not going to bring that boy home. Now, there is a lot of children who end up being found 4 years later in a box canyon somewhere, or in a creek bed, or just in an area that is miles away from where he was last seen. So if they only covering a 2-mile radius, they need to go outside that 2-mile radius and look beyond that to see if he's going to be in some type of brush, or he may be in a little in a ditch somewhere, wherever. It's only been 2 years, so if they find him now, they may find he may already be a bone, nothing but bone and clothing at this point. I'm not sure, or he may not even be clothed. He may just be a young boy with a diaper around his hips. Yeah, I mean, I hate to talk like that, but it's the truth, because a lot of these children that are being found, sometimes a lot of them are found dead, and some of them are found alive with no memory of what happened. Okay, and it's been 2 years, so I really hate saying that, because this is a 2-year-old boy. I don't like to talk too negative about that, but the facts are there. They're in his books about the little children that are found. Some kids are found weeks later dead, sitting up against a boulder. So hopefully they'll find him with now. There was one case about I think it was about that little boy I talked about before. I'm having a brain fart right now. Sorry, guys. I think I was talking about I can see, but I can't call it right now. But anyway, there was one story about a little boy where the searcher said that you'll find your son in like 2 years, and he'll be near water or something like that. Or I think they said 4 years. And they did find him, but it wasn't 4 years. It was like 2 years. And they found his remains and it was near water, I believe. But yeah, as far as this case goes, hopefully it won't be a total amount of 4 years when they find the body, or the remains of that little boy somewhere in an area where they never would have thought to have looked, because that happens a lot, where they find when it be somebody that may be hiking in the area, or jogging, and next thing you know, they see remains off the side of the road in an area that's miles and miles away from where he was last seen, which is a huge point in all these cases. And that might be what's going to happen with De'Orr if he's actually deceased. Now if he's not, hopefully he's being held somewhere, and he'll pop up sooner or later, not having a memory of what happened. And that would be the strange part of all these cases. And they're not going to even want to talk about it, because he's been through enough, and he's only 2, 3. He would be 3 years old now. So he was 2 back in 2015, so he would be 3, depending on when his birthday is. I'm not sure when his birthday was. They probably did mention that early on when the case first broke, in the news. But yeah, strange stuff. So I really do hope that something good comes out of this case. I really do. But judging on the information that David Paulides provides in his books, and knowing that he is a retired 20-year veteran police officer, he's pretty good at his craft, and he knows what to look for, and he knows how to look for it. So from what he's gathered over the years with all these cases, there's a good chance he may. I mean, it's not a chance I'm looking forward to, but it's a good chance he may be found 4 years ago somewhere where they never would have looked. Or they may have looked in that area 20, 30, 40, 50 times over and there was nobody there. And then 4 years later, they come back to the same spot and boom, there he is. Or maybe in a couple of years. Like maybe next year, maybe in a couple of weeks from now. I don't know. But if he's found in an area where he never should have been in, they're going to start saying, how did he get there? Obviously, the person that kidnapped him dropped him off there and he killed him and left him there marked, and just left him there. Or he was transported there by some other means that had nothing to do with a human. So. But yeah, that's pretty much it on that story. I gave you a recap on what happened to him and the update, which is not too much. The most I can tell you now is that they did find some evidence that rules out, animal attacks or, a kidnapping. So whatever that evidence is, hopefully sooner or later they'll put it out there, unless they feel it's too weird to put out there. Because right now they still have to find a body if they feel he's dead, which I don't think he is. And if he's still alive, he may be in another dimension somewhere. Because I know the wife, the girlfriend said that she thinks she heard his voice a couple of times when they was back at home after he disappeared. That may be him trying to contact them through some means in this other dimension, but they just can't see him, so I don't know. I mean, I really hope for the best with the family, and I still don't think that they had anything to do with it, so they really need to stop trying to badger them and make their lives a living hell, because they're doing nothing but, making them look like bad parents, just because the girlfriend has 2 kids by another man who was her husband, who they're now divorced, of course, and he has custody of their 2 children. So that makes her look like a bad parent if the father has the kids, but that don't mean that she was a bad mother, Those were her very first 2 kids, so all mothers aren't the perfect parent when they first have when they start having kids the first time. Those were her very first 2 kids. So you still have to grow as a parent. You have to grow into being a good parent so that your kids will, respect you and look up to you as they get older. So that's just them trying to slander them so they can get them to talk. That's all it is. But they still not talking because they didn't have anything to do with it. And it's definitely something paranormal or otherworldly. I can guarantee you that. And when I say otherworldly, I don't necessarily mean aliens from another planet. I mean from another dimension, a parallel Earth maybe. Who knows? I really don't know. I don't have any answers to that. I can just give you theories of what I already know about the paranormal and the unknown. So, but that's my time on that. If I get any more information on his case, I will definitely post it on a future video. So I hope that what I have given you keeps you up to date with it, and especially for you, Miss Morgan. I hope that answers all your questions, even though it wasn't a lot. I still got to dig more into it because that's all they really said at this point because it's still under investigation. So when I get more, I will definitely, use this information on another video. So I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. I got some things I gotta take care of before I have to go to work. So, just you know what to do. Hit me with a thumbs up. Subscribe below. Hit me with a comment, on this video if you like it, or if you may have some more information for me that I don't know about. Hit me up, and I will definitely use that on my next video. So, other than that, like I said, aloha, mahalo, and ahuiho. Peace out, guys. Stay blessed and stay safe.